Hi gang, welcome to Watercraft Talk. On today's episode, I thought maybe I would do a walk around video and we'll talk and discuss a little bit about a Superjet that came in a little while ago. This is a customer of ours, Andrew. He's from Green Bay area, up north Wisconsin. Andrew is fast becoming a good customer. This is our third machine now that we have done for him. He's a new customer, but like I say, this is number 3. He's a good customer and a good guy. So Andrew recently just picked up, it's a 2017 Superjet. Appears to have very low hours on it. It has some issues. He had gotten it, put it in the water, and it was sinking rather fast. So that was a concern. Originally, he reached out to me because the compression was off. There was 15 pounds variance between number 1 cylinder and number 2 cylinder. He reached out to me on Facebook to ask some questions about that, and so that's why it came in originally, and then we found all kinds of stuff that needed to be addressed. So let's go look at this. We'll go outside here. And we'll talk a little bit about Andrew's Superjet. We are, and this is November 3rd here in Wisconsin. It is mid-70s today. It's just awesome. Yesterday I was able to ride this. I've got an hour's time on the engine. I burned a half tank of gas roughly through it yesterday. It was mid-70s yesterday. I'm just saying that because 2 years from now I'll go back and watch this video and I'll see that it's 70 some degrees here in Wisconsin. It's pretty cool. So what we have is again a 2017 Superjet. It's got a B pipe on it. It's got an ADA head on it. Originally, let's see, we'll talk about first. Andrew's concern was we had 15 pounds variance between the 2 cylinders. I thought, or I was hoping at first, that maybe it was just an O-ring had gone bad and we were losing compression because of that. I was hoping maybe the head was installed incorrectly, and that was not the case. Again, the water leak we found, water routing on this was done incorrectly. The ski was built, believe it or not, at a dealership somewhere here in Wisconsin, and no disrespect to them, I'm sure they're fine motorcycle mechanics, but they didn't have a clue to what they're doing modifications on a Superjet. So we found upon inspection originally, this is the one, they had the cooling water coming in here from the jet pump in the head here. So this line coming from the pump is supposed to go over to the exhaust manifold. Water fills up the manifold, fills up the cylinder, fills up the head, comes out of the top of the head, and then feeds the pipe. This particular setup, they had the water coming in the head. They had it coming out of the head over here, feeding the pipe. The fitting on the bottom where the water is supposed to come in, they had just plugged off. In fact, they had this plug in the bottom. Well, what's going to happen is you'll fill your engine up with water, and it's just going to sit there. Water is going to take the least path, or the path of least resistance. It's going to come in here and it's going to go right out there. It's not going to circulate. It's not going to heat soak. It's not going to transfer any heat. It's just going to be a problem. And then when you shut your engine off, it doesn't drain out. Your cylinder is constantly, your cylinder and your manifold are constantly full of water. So I took it to the water and I was running it, and water was literally pouring out the bottom of the exhaust manifold. And at first I was afraid that maybe the manifold cracked or the cylinder cracked, that it froze from not being able to drain. And that was not the case. The manifold gasket was blown out on the bottom. So what they had done was they used the stock Yamaha bolts, and these bolts are about 2 or 3 threads too long. They will go in, but they bottom out on the cylinder, and you're not truly tightening this up and crushing the gasket. So it is my belief that the gasket blew out because the manifold was not tight to the cylinder. All of the bolts were tight. In fact, this one they had so tight, and they had the head rounded off on it. I couldn't get this bolt out. I had to cut that bolt out of there and grind it out to get the manifold off. So we got that off. I pulled the head next and hoping again to find a bad O-ring, and that was not the case. We did notice they did not have O-rings on the top of the dome where the spark plug is, where the dome meets up under the head. So it's a good thing that we checked all that out, because those were missing. But upon removal of the head, we determined that you could see where the cylinder had been rusted. The rings had rusted to the cylinder. It must have been sitting, stored for a while, maybe with water in the hull. You'll get condensation if you guys store your jet ski or any of your watercraft with water in the hull. And if the hood's on and everything and you leave it sit for a long period of time, you get condensation in there, and your rings can rust right to the cylinder wall. Or it got water in it, water ingested water, I don't know, but it was clearly that the rings had rusted to the cylinder wall. Somebody had been in there because the base gasket was not original Yamaha on this. We saw it when we pulled the head off, we could see the crosshatch. Somebody had run a hone down through it. Somebody had pulled the cylinder and they ran a hone down through it. The crosshatch was not correct. They had held the hone in one spot for a long, long time trying to get rid of that ring spot, and now the rings don't seal, and that's why we were down on compression on the #1 cylinder. So after measuring the cylinder, and it's now out of spec, we decided it needed a new top end. We went through the motor. The bottom end was mint. Hard to believe, the crankshaft was actually in very good condition. So we put new pistons, rings, pins, bearings, C-clips, and gaskets in it, and bored it. We went 0.5 millimeter over, so we trued up the bore, and now the rings are sealing. And after break-in yesterday, we have 180 pounds equal on each cylinder. So that's right perfectly where it's supposed to be. Another thing we noticed upon the original inspection was there was no. This is a 2017. Yamaha doesn't have adjusting screws accessible. These are covered with a little cap. The caps were not removed. So I was certain that if you're not adjusting the carbs there, I'd bet that the jetting was stock. So we took the carbs off and went through them, and sure enough, the jetting on it was still stock. They didn't, they put flame arresters on it, put a pipe on it, put a head on it, and never rejetted the carburetors. So we went through the carbs, put a primer on it, removed the choke, put the T-bar adjusting screws in, and then jetted the carbs to our specs for a Superjet with this setup. And then we decided, while we had the engine out, we checked alignment, and the alignment was way off. And you'll see some pictures of this stuff. I took some pictures as we had things apart, and Chris will add pictures at the end of the video. So make sure you watch all the way to the end. We'll have a little video or picture slideshow, and you can see. So while we had the engine out, we sealed up the bulkhead. We epoxied the holes where Yamaha leaves open that's exposed to foam. We siliconed around all the tubes or hoses and where the lines come through and the steering cable comes through and the exhaust tube comes through. Sealed all that up. This had the standard wear in the bottom of the hull from that large engine block underneath there, so we removed that. We've got the water routing all done correctly now. We put a reducer in the water line. They did not have the correct hose from the pipe to the water box was wrong. So essentially we went through everything front to back. We had the drive line out of it. I aligned the drive line. It's got a good Solus Concord impeller in it, so we were able to leave the jet pump alone, but properly align it and put it all back together. And again, then take it to the water and run it. And now it runs strong. We have no leaks. It is completely dry and dialed in and ready to go for him. I have now winterized it because he's done and won't be riding anymore. But there's that. So I thought you'd just kind of like to check that out. If you have a Superjet or any ski for that matter that needs some work done, I'd be happy to help you out. Please reach out to the shop. If you need parts, we're here for that too. Check out the website, watcon.com. That's it, I think, for today. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel, as it really does help us, and I appreciate everybody. If you have any ideas or anything you want to see, keep the comments coming. We love hearing from you guys. I love all the feedback. We'll keep doing this as long as you guys keep liking it. Please like, tag, share, and follow. Next time we'll see you out on the water, and as always, please be nice to each other.